Welcome to my channel, Judy's Creations in Crochet. Today is April the 7th, 2022, and I just want to send out a happy birthday wish to my sister. So we have been looking at yarns from Expression Fiber Arts. And today I am wearing the Jazzy Barista, which you have seen a fair bit of lately. It was in last week's video when I was talking about Sparkle DK yarns. So this is an EFA pattern, and it used 2 of their yarns. I have been focusing on EFA yarns because first of all, I have a lot of them and I've used a lot of them, so I think I know a fair bit about them, and I can give you an honest opinion of the various yarns. It is, I think, one of the better hand-dyed yarns out there. Not that others don't have good quality, but the reason I say better, in my opinion, is because they have a very wide selection. They have bulky, worsted, DK, sport weight. They have fingering weight, which includes a couple of sock yarns, and they have lace weight. And last week I focused on the worsted, the DK, and the sport. I included one lace weight because it's the only one I have. They also have a wide variety of bases. They have yarns with merino and nylon, of course, but they also combine merino with mulberry silk, and they have some with cashmere in it, and they have alpaca in some of their bases, and camel, that's another one you'll see a bit of. And they've even had yak in the past. They don't have one right now. Maybe one day they'll bring that back. They also have one base that is completely what we would call vegan, because it's out of natural fibers. It doesn't use all plant-based fibers, no animal. And they have a couple of others that have cotton in them. So you can see that there is a lot of different choice in the bases that they have, something that would appeal to everyone. So I did a video reviewing all of the yarns, and as I told you last week, it got to be far too long. So I decided to split it in half. And for those that did not see my video last week, you might want to go to that one first. That one is part 1 of the review, and I will link it in the description box below. You might want to watch that one first. And today we are going to do part 2 of the review of EFA yarns, EFA being Expression Fiber Arts. Today's video is all fingering weight, which includes sock weight. They are pretty much the same. So I'm not going to chatter anymore. I'm going to cut now to the second half of the video that reviews the yarns, and I'll see you back here when that is done. Now is all fingering weight yarns, and I made a project over the weekend because I did want to know more about this. And the first one I'm going to talk about in fingering weight is something called their Resilient merino sock. Resilient. This is definitely made for socks. I'll show you in a minute why. I believe it's 100%, doesn't say on here, but it doesn't say anything else, 100% superwash merino. 366 meters or 400 yards. And the first thing you're going to notice about this yarn is it stretches. It has like elastic. I think I showed you another one of those by another maker in the fall. But it definitely has elasticity in it. And again, you can see, not too well there, but you can see the texture a little bit in the plies. Now, this is a swatch made up with it. I had no trouble stitching with it. This definitely feels nicer than the luster that I showed you a second ago, Luster Sport. This really shows the stretch. See that? I couldn't stretch. You can feel the give in this. They also say it's good for sweaters, and I suppose sometimes you want that kind of stretch in your sweaters. I wouldn't be inclined to wear something made out of this. And in fact, after I got it, not knowing that it would be all this stretchy, I did make one item, and it was a long, narrow, very, very open and lacy scarf. And even after blocking, it has stretch in it. Oh, look at the stretch going this way. And it feels, I don't know the right word. It has sort of what I call a spongy feeling or something when you feel it in your hands. It's not bad. It's not scratchy. Some people would really like it. I definitely can see where it would make a nice sock. But at the time, and this is a couple of years ago, I looked at it and I thought, that isn't the kind of yarn I really want to be using to make lovely scarves and shawls and what have you. So I decided to give it another try, and I did this swatch, as I said last week when I was doing up my swatches, and I thought, well, you know, it's not that bad. Maybe I should give it another chance. So I decided to make an item, and I made one last week, and it is EFA's boho shawl pattern, and it says to use 2-ply of this resilient sock yarn, and it has bounce in it for sure with lots of fringe. And I did make it, and I thought I would show you this today to give you an idea what it does in a scarf. And the other item will be an FO on next week's episode. And after I was finished doing it, and I went and blocked it, it has obviously quite a bit of stretch in it. And I don't have a note here, but I think this, oh, the resilient sock is $26 for a ball, and it has 400 yards. And again, I won't stitch with it. That takes time. It does slide very easily. And because of the nature of it, it frogs very, very easy as well. So for those sock makers out there, this would be a great yarn. And I have one or two other skeins. We'll eventually use them for something. But this is not a yarn that's on my top 10 list by any means. It's down near the bottom just because I don't make socks. Maybe one day I will. Maybe I should make myself learn so I can use the skeins I have. The boho poncho is fine, but not the kind of material I would like for any other ponchos that I eventually make. So that's resilient sock, a little bit low on my list of yarns. Then moving on to sincere sock. Sincere sock, I have quite a bit of it, but I had never actually, can't see it there. I had never actually used it yet. Sincere Sock is your typical hand-dyed yarn that you buy. It is 75% merino, 25% nylon. 400 meters or 437 yards in the hank, and it is $25 for the hank. So it is a little more reasonably priced. And I pulled out the balls and I said, yeah, these feel nice. They feel like any merino nylon mix. And I stitched up. Of course, I picked a busy one, but I picked things that were already in hanks. And there it is, stitched up. A little busy to be able to see the stitches. Again, nice enough to make a sweater in for sure. Not as luxurious as this one, or the two that really so far strike me are the alpaca silk DK, how soft it is, and this one. And surprisingly enough, both Sparkle DK and Sparkle Fingering, even with the metallic in it, are quite soft. So this one, I guess you can see the stitch definition, but not like you do in the pearlescent. And once again, it frogs, no problem whatsoever. And in fact, I liked it so well when I did up the swatch, I said, I think I want to make something in it. So this was another one of the whips I have on hand that I started this weekend. And you can't tell what it is yet, but I just got started on this, and it does feel very nice. It'll make nice shawls and scarves, and it would make a nice sweater. Some people, because of the thinness, might prefer it to be double-stranded. I have to tell you, I have these two items in the works that I started on the weekend, two whips that I am going to finish this week, and you will see them next week. And I am thoroughly enjoying working on both of them. And it was a delight to pick either one of these up after that luster sport, which I did not enjoy at all. So these are near the top of my list of items to make. Okay, moving on, a couple more. I won't spend a lot of time on these two because I have shown them before, but this is Cash Silk Sock. And Cash Silk Sock, this is the sample I'm using. This is the lavender tea, which is in, you remember this from my Make 9, it has the hexagon at one end and then works through these two colors. Well, this is the lighter color, and I talked about the Cash Silk then. And Cash Silk Sock, just to give you what it's made up of, because time is getting away here. 75% superwash wool, 15% cashmere, 10% silk. Has 375 meters or 410 yards in a skein. Again, because of the silk in it, and silk and cashmere, it feels very nice. And I still intend to finish that top I started way back in the beginning of the fall. This is very soft. It can be stitched with a small enough hook that I'll be able to wear this top. And it does frog quite easily. But I do want to tell you one thing, and this is the only yarn that I remember it happening. Oops, we got a little bit of a snag. Not much. I do find in working with this, I remember when I was making this hexagon wrap, that I remember the yarn splitting a bit. Not a terrible amount, simply not as much as Karen's Simply Soft for sure, but that is the one downfall of this yarn. It can split. depending on the hook you're using, and I tend to use these hooks with a fairly pointed end. So cashmere, cash silk sock, I really, really like. And the other one that's comparable to it is Oasis fingering. And the finished item you saw, I used Oasis fingering. You saw it a couple of times on me. And that was, again, my other version of the Jazzy Barista. And this blocks really well. The thing about this that some of you might not like is, for a fingering weight, it is a little bit thinner. So not all fingering weights are created equal, and this one is a little thinner than some of the others. I'm thinking even if I pulled out the cash silk sock here, you might see the difference. Pretty hard to see, but this is definitely finer than this one, and it is silky. I need to tell you what it's made of. 50% camel and 50% mulberry silk. I think camel is a finer fiber than cashmere. Again, I had no trouble stitching with it, but in order to get the kind of coverage I like when I'm making something, I definitely had to go down. I did a 4 and then I did a 3.5, and then those are 3.5 half double crochets. It is finer. So you either have to like working with a finer yarn, or you could double it up. Double it up would be, this is almost as fine as that lace weight I showed you. And it has a bit of a halo, but again, you can see frogging it is not a problem at all. Now, the real problem with this particular yarn, because it is camel, it is more expensive. It is $37 for a skein. Okay, we're getting near the end. Please hang in there. The next two I want to show you. Whoops, I'm getting the wrong one. Oh, no, that's right. The first one is called a mall fingering. And again, I'll go quickly over this. A mall fingering is 60% baby alpaca, 20% linen, and 20% mulberry silk. Again, that makes it a very nice yarn. 400 meters or 438 yards in a skein. And the beauty of a mall is that it is only $21. Now, a mall, because it has linen in it, doesn't take the dye consistently. Now, you can't see it in this, but this is a shawl I made with it. And you'll remember this, I showed it to you a while back. And here's where you can see that the navy, can you see that the navy is not consistent? That it has almost a denim look, where it's lighter in some places and darker in others. I don't know how well you can see that with the way the lights shine in here. You can see it down here. It's not, linen does not take the dye the same as the other fibers do. But it is very, very soft. After I made this one and this one and a couple of the others, the one with the tweed, I got them all out and had my girlfriend feel them all to tell me which was the softest. I think consensus was this one, but this was right behind it. And the next one I'm going to show you is very, very soft. And I apologize, I could not find the finished object of the next one. And it was a cowl that I did. But anyway, let's finish this. This is a mall. And it is $21, I said, and no trouble stitching. I won't stitch with it. It is a little finer, but it comes out quite easily as well. No real problem frogging that. and it makes a very, very nice, not, still doesn't measure up to this one, but it makes a very nice shawl. And similar to that, by the way, right now they don't have a mall on their site, and the next one they don't have on their site either. There are certain yarns they always have. They always have Cash Silk Sock. They always have Sincere Sock. They always have the Pearlescence. They always have the Alpaca Silk and Oasis. Others come and go. They stay for a short time and they go. A couple never to be seen again. But some of them are kind of cyclical in various seasons. So this next one I'm going to show you is called Vellum. And, oh, here it is. Vellum with a wrap on it. And this is 70% baby alpaca, 20% mulberry silk, and 10% yak. And when I got this package, this is so soft. All you want to do is sit and squish it. You want to get a bunch and cuddle up in it. This one in the hank feels softer than this one. And here's the ball. Like I said, I did make this with some blues, and I don't know why I can't find the cowl that I made this with, but I like it so much that when it comes back, and I have a feeling it will come back this spring or summer, I'm going to make sure to buy enough to make a sweater at least. I might, though, double it up. And let's see how it frogs, because it does have yak in it, so there is a bit of a halo you probably can't see. And when they have a halo, that's always when I wonder. But frogging it doesn't seem to make a problem. That's the true test of a yarn, if you're going to like it or not. Will it frog? And definitely will it frog when you get to the chain. And that frog just about as easy as anything has ever frogged. Now, I said there's only 201 yards in the hank. So the hank is $15. So if you really want to compare this yarn, you have to buy two, which would be $30, which works out to what a lot of their yarns are for the same amount of yardage. Why they sell it in what I call half a hank, but they pretty much go with weight. And I don't even see the weight on here. It's usually 100 grams, and I don't see it. It's not on here. So that's vellum, and I really, really love the feel of that. And I will get more when it comes out. Now, finally, I have what I call their 3 summer yarns. And these are the 3. First is Blossom. And I have not used these two. I'll be honest with you, I haven't used these two at this point. I have used Blossom, and it has a different texture than the other two. If you look at it, I keep forgetting I got to be way over here. See, they're all a bit different. Now, this is a tight twist, so it has a bit of that texture I say bothers me, although this is soft. This is very wavy, and this is a little bit wavy. But you want to hear the contents of these 3. First of all, Blossom. And I have an item made in it. It is 50% viscose bamboo, 30% merino wool, and 20% tencel. For those that aren't sure, tencel is kind of like a pulp fiber from wood. This has 366 meters or 200 yards in the hank. Ah, yes, this is a 50 gram. I don't know why they did it in 50s. So Blossom Fingering has a nice texture, but definitely does not measure up to Vellum by any chance. And this is the item I made. Again, it was one of their cows in the various colors. And I mean, nothing wrong with it. Feels very nice, but it doesn't have the luxurious feel of some of these other yarns I've talked about. It's just a regular feel. And Blossom, as I said, isn't on the site right now, but I think I heard her say that it is coming soon. And Blossom is $18 for a hank. And again, I won't stitch with it, but there's no reason it won't frog just as nicely as the others. Then we go over to Ephemeral, and they do have both Seacoast and Ephemeral on their site right now. I'm going to do the Seacoast first because they've had it for the last 6 weeks, maybe a little longer, maybe 2 months, and it's just about ready to go. And in fact, if you sign up for their newsletter, you would know that there is I think there is a 10% code right now. Okay, so it is thinner as well, and it stitches nicely, a little bit looser than I would like. I started with 4. With all 3 of these, I started with 4, and then I went to the 3.5. And again, it frogs. Now, I can feel a little bit of a tug on this, not that I didn't feel on the last one. Ah, there it goes. We have a bit of a snag, but I can get that out fairly easily. There is halo on this. You can probably almost see the halo even on the thread. See the halo? So frogs a little bit. You have to do it carefully with this one. Don't just pull, although that went good. But then you hit a snag, okay? But it is what I call one of their summer weights again, because this one has 69% Peruvian Pima cotton and 31% lyocell. So this one is completely natural elements, natural based. No wool in it for those that are allergic to wool. It has, this is another good thing, it has 900 meters or 548 yards in the hank. It is a wee bit thinner, depends what you want to make with it. If I wouldn't be making a sweater out of this unless I doubled it up. It is quite fine. Make some beautiful shawls. Some of those beautiful, intricate shawls would be nice. But you want to be a little careful. You don't want to make too many mistakes because frogging it might be a bit of a difficulty. And you might want to use even finer than a 3.5, depending on what you're doing. And having never made anything out of it, I don't know how it blocks, but seems to have some give in it. And the price of Seacoast is $19. Now there's a deal. $19, 400 and what did I say? 548 yards. So that would go a long way. You could make almost an entire shawl out of that. And the third one, this one is the heaviest of the 3, but I still used the smaller. I started with a 4 and went down to a 3, but you can see that it is a little thicker and it's quite wavy, but it does have a soft feel to it, like it has a little bit of halo. And I think I might make a summer top out of it. And it is Seacoast, 12% baby alpaca, 83% Pima cotton, and 5% polyamide. So almost 12% baby alpaca, gives it that softer feel, almost a completely natural fiber. If she said, I think she talked about it today in her video, that ephemeral is their only 100% natural organic yarn. Could be called a vegan yarn because it only has cotton and lyocell. A lot of people talk about lyocell. Now, again, how does it frog? No real problems. I can feel it tugging a teensy bit, so we might hit a spot. Yeah, there's a spot, but again, usually if I put my finger in it, it gets it out without too much difficulty. And this is ephemeral and Seacoast, sorry. Seacoast, which has 400 meters, 439 yards, is also $19 a skein. So you see these three that I talked about that are their summer ones are substantial skeins and much cheaper than their other ones. But it doesn't have the expensive fibers in it. But a way to try hand dyed. These are all hand dyed, a bit tonal in some of them. And this is definitely one I'm going to be making something soon in, although this is the softest of the three. Very, very soft, but as I said, thin. I might make a shawl, otherwise I'll double it up and try to make something a little heavier. But they still have ephemeral. They've just been bringing it out, and they brought out 2 free patterns. They're still free on their site. There is 1 knitted pattern and 1 crocheted pattern on their site right now that is free and uses ephemeral. So they still have some very pretty choices of colors on the site. Quite a large selection. Seacoast only has a few because, like I said, they're going out of it. So if you're interested, $19 a hank with whatever I said, 439 yards in it. That is a pretty reasonable hand-dyed yarn. It sounds expensive compared to what you get in the big box stores, but you are not getting hand-dyed with these special fibers. So that brings us to the end of all of the yarns I have tried. So that is a review of all of the yarns that I have something to say about from Expression Fiber Arts. As I have mentioned, there are a few others, 1 or 2 that I do have but have never used, and others that I have never purchased from them. So I think you can tell from having watched both of the videos that I do like a lot of their yarns. There are a couple, you saw one in each video, that I am not partial to at all and unlikely to use, well, not for a while into the future. If I had to pick my top 10, let's say, because they have far more than that, and it is hard to choose because I like quite a few of them, and I'll be leaving out something I like even if I pick top 10. But I have to say that I have always from the beginning liked their pearlescent yarns, both the worsted and fingering, although I prefer the fingering. And I also like, up there at the top, is their alpaca silk DK. Not partial too much to the silk, to the lace. I also like both of the sparkle yarns, both the DK and the fingering. I don't know if I like one over the other. I like both of them. And I definitely, as you could tell, really, really like the Mirage in the sport weight. Now, I like the twisted tweed as well, but it's not up there with Mirage. And when you go to the fingering, I have always liked their cash silk sock and I like their Oasis, although not as much. It's a finer one. I don't use it quite as often, but I do still really like the yarn. And now I have a new one to rank up into my fingering, and that is a Sincere Sock. Um, having just finished the project I showed you earlier in the video, since then I have finished the Sincere Sock project and really like it. I'll talk more about that next week or the week after. And of course the vellum. I really would rank vellum up in my top 10. I still like many of the others, but those would be probably my favorites. And I think you can tell that you know my favorite colors. So my favorite weight is fingering, although I really enjoy the sport weight as well. Sport weight is a wee bit heavier, but not as heavy as DK. I like DK, but it still sometimes is a little bit heavier than I like. So fingering is at the top of my list of yarns to use. I hope you have found all of this information interesting. I did get some comments after last week's video telling me how they enjoyed seeing the yarns. And besides being interesting, I hope you learned a little bit about different yarns and their composition and the weights of yarns. And maybe one day you will try some Expression Fiber Arts yarns. Now, that brings us to what will we be looking at next week? Well, for the next few weeks, I will be definitely showing you a number of finished items. I've had some time to get a number of things finished, and you have seen enough reviews for a while. And so finished objects for sure. And I'm thinking that I might focus on ponchos next week. I have a number of ponchos I haven't shown you yet. And coming into the spring weather will be a time when people start to wear ponchos, when they want to get out of those winter jackets. But it isn't time for summer yet. We need a little something when it's a bit cool. So I think I will do mostly ponchos next week. I might do one or two other items. And now that I have focused on one brand of yarn, I think I also want to focus on a designer. Maybe the very beginning of May, which will be here before we know it, I will focus on a designer. More about that in the future. But next week, we will look mostly at ponchos. So until then, happy hooking.